I recently discovered a utility plugin for Ardour and Mixbus, and it's called AB Switch. So this is a handy little plugin that I wish I'd known about before. This plugin allows you to switch between, or AB between, two other plugins in the same channel, or to switch between two instances of the same plugin with different settings. So a typical use case for me, and one that I would have used this in a few months ago, I was mixing an orchestra recording where I had a solo mic on a clarinetist in one piece, and I used that same mic and same channel for a guitarist in another piece. And so within that one channel, it would have been nice to switch between two settings of my parametric EQ. As with anything in mixing, there are other ways to do what I wanted to accomplish there. Just for the expediency, I just duplicated the channels. So I actually had guitar in one channel and clarinet in another, but with this AB switch, I could have done it in a single channel and just switch between the EQ settings. So in order to test this, I will add a compressor and an expander to an existing voiceover track that I recorded. And let's just say it should never happen that you say, boy, this voiceover is good, but it needs something. Should I put a compressor or an expander on it? Because those two plugins obviously do very different things. The opposite, in fact. And so, but if you're new to recording voiceover, say you're recording your own voice for the first time for a podcast, you might think, well, I need a compressor on here to sound professional. But if you are in an imperfect environment, like you're recording in your bedroom, your office, like I am, your closet, basement, whatever, and you have ambient noise in a poorly treated room, a compressor is actually going to amplify your ambient noise in between when you're speaking. And so it's a poor choice unless you somehow treat the ambient noise before it reaches the compressor. So on a normal setting for voiceover, a compressor is going to make your environmental noise louder. And so I'll just use this chance to demonstrate that as I'm showing you how to use this AB switch. So I don't know if I mentioned this, you can use the AB switch manually or you can automate it with a single automation lane. So that's pretty nice. So what I have up here in my session is I have a piece of voiceover I recorded, and I'll let you hear that now without any processing. The abbé smiled, and proceeding to the disused fireplace, raised by the help of his chisel a long stone, which had doubtless been the hearth, beneath which was a cavity of considerable depth, serving as a safe depository of the articles mentioned to Dantes. Okay, so two things should be apparent listening to that. Number one, this is recorded in my office as my voiceover is today, but it has no processing applied. And this is probably not a good space to record professional voiceover unless you try to mitigate the environmental noise to some degree. And the second that should be apparent is that I will never get paid for audiobooks. So as you can see, when I typically record my voiceover here, I use an expander, and this happens to be a downward expander, but it helps me tame the ambient noise. So if I turn this expander off, you'll be able to hear all of the din of the interstate outside my office and my furnace running. So that should have been obvious when I turned it off. And in theory, it should not be affecting my voiceover too much, only the quieter parts there. And the degree to which you can use an expander to mitigate environmental noise subtly depends on the relative levels of your signal, your voice versus your ambient noise. If your ambient noise is too loud, it's hard to do it subtly. And you might not think that what I'm doing right now is subtle, but we shall see. You can only do so much if your noise is really loud. And an expander is not going to help much for the noise if it's so loud that it's, you hear it while I'm speaking. But I'll use the AB switch today to show you how to AB between such plugins. So I'm going to go ahead and add all three plugins here. I'm going to add in order the expander, compressor, and the AB switch. And I believe the AB switch should always be last. So it should be plug-in A, B, and then your switch. So I'm going to open these top to bottom in the order they come in my signal chain, and I'll apply some presets here that I have set up for this audio sample. And so the compression settings here, 5:1 ratio with 2.5 makeup gain. The makeup gain is where you increase your noise floor. Again, all other things equal. This is probably a little aggressive. It just depends on what you want to achieve with your compressor. we're all set to set this up now. And in order to make the AB switch work, we have to open up the pin settings for each plugin. Again, just to help visualize this, it's going top to bottom in the flow. If I could get back to this Ardour page here, on their setup page, they actually show all of these pin settings in a single window, and I've not yet figured out how to do that. So you don't need to have them like that. But so this is the expander, compressor, and the switch. So I'm going to add another out in the expander and in the compressor. So now what we have is basically A and B side to this that will eventually come down into our switch. So if we say the A side is left, we want that to go into the expander and then to bypass the compressor and straight to the switch. And that's how we do that. And then we want another signal to go into the B side, bypassing the expander and going straight to the compressor. And so that's how we do that. And that comes back out to the B. And then you just have to connect, make sure you have your A connected and the B connected on your switch. So just to review, we split the signal going into the expander on A and then bypassing the compressor. And then the B split bypasses the expander and goes into the compressor and then into the switch. So that's all done with my pin settings. So now, and of course you can't hear this because it's only on the channel with my sample recorded here. But if I push this button, A is by default, that's the off position. And as soon as you push it on, then that's B. So that switches between expander and compressor. All right, so let's listen to a loop of this, and I will just manually A-B this. So I'll play the first time of this loop, which will be some ambient noise and some voiceover. First time will be the expander, second time compressor. The Abbey smiled, and proceeding to... Okay, so hopefully in just that short clip, you were able to hear the increase in the noise floor. And hopefully what you hear also is that you hear some compression on my voice, but you should not hear the effects of the expander too much in my voice. And that was a super short clip, but you get the idea. So that is a demo of what compression can do to your noise floor and what an expander can do. So next we want to automate this. And so in this session up here, I actually have the same clip duplicated. So it's the exact same clip twice. So now I want to automate switching between the two plugins. I will add an automation lane to this channel for the AB switch. And it only has one possibility, which is basically on-off. So now I stink at making these little automation points. So I just want to put an automation point in here, the default, and we need to turn that to play. So it's already off, and then I just want to edit some automation. Oh my goodness, I can never get these. I swear. It's so strange how that's hard for me to do. Okay, so all I did there was to go from off to on. So if you put it here in the timeline, AB is off, which is A. Then you set it here, it switches to B. So now we can just play. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to close my window there. So now if we play this entire, both clips, you'll hear the expander on the first one and the compressor on the second. The Abbey smiled, and proceeding to the disused fireplace, raised by the help of his chisel a long stone, which had doubtless been the hearth, beneath which was a cavity of considerable depth, serving as a safe depository of the articles mentioned to Dantes. The Abbey smiled, and proceeding to the disused fireplace, raised by the help of his chisel a long... Okay, you get the idea here. I've demonstrated how to do the AB switch manually and also to automate that. The one more thing I like to do here, and this just gives you a little visual support for what we just did, and I will export this, this single channel with processing and re-import it just so you can see what happened to the noise floor. And of course, your ears are more important, but I always find some visual representation of this to be helpful as well. So I'll go ahead and export this, and I'm re-importing it automatically to a new channel. So okay, so let's expand this out. And if we go down to, so this is what I just rendered and brought back in. So you can see that although my relative levels of voiceover are the same, the expander versus the compressor, what it did to the noise floor. Okay, so that concludes this demo, and hopefully somebody else will find this AB switch plugin useful.